So another week in crypto, and people are starting to ask, is the bottom in? And so that's exactly what I want to talk about in today's video, and to talk to you guys a little bit about potentially some conflicting evidence that we're seeing right now that you may have not seen anywhere else. So we'll go ahead and we'll look at that chart, because you need to know what's going on, because it's pretty similar to what happened back in February, March, and April. And I'll go ahead and I'll break that down, because a lot of people are questioning this data and information and what's going to happen next. So as always, nothing is financial advice. Welcome everybody to the live stream. Always good to see you guys. And again, you're going to love what we have to talk about today. So let's go ahead. Is the Bitcoin bottom in? Let's go ahead and break it down. So excuse me, I had some chips before the live stream, so I'm a little, all right, here we go. So Bitcoin overall, what are we seeing right now? Well, right now you're hearing from a lot of people. I can go right now on crypto Twitter, and so many calls of the bottoms in, and it looks like, we had what we needed as far as a pullback. But as I've said, over and over again on these streams, on this channel, that the market has yet to prove itself, meaning that, have we seen the bottom yet for Bitcoin? Not necessarily. Now, there are things right now that are actually doing quite well. If I go ahead and show you guys a couple of charts here, how about Solana, right? If we go ahead and zoom out and ignore a lot of this stuff that I've written right here, but basically it's higher lows, higher highs. And on the daily chart, it looks like, Solana here, not that we're going to sit here and fixate on this, because some of you don't even trade Solana, but it's a major crypto asset in the top 10. It is breaking out here on the daily chart, and we're looking to have a new daily local high, and the highest that we've had since back in February. Okay, so Solana overall looks good right now. If you've been holding Solana from this retest that we talked about back weeks ago, then you're doing well right now. Now, also too, if you're holding Hyperliquid on HYPE, again, this is not on all major exchanges, because it is a competitor to Coinbase, etc., to exchanges. But bottom line, it's at a new high. It just hit its new high over the past day. So Hyperliquid or HYPE is also doing really well. But what we have seen every time we see these runs right here, right? What tends to happen? Well, a pullback tends to happen, and that's what we're currently seeing right now. In the past hour, it's pulled back down. So let's see if Hyperliquid can hold this area, okay, of around $50. So Hyperliquid looks good right now. And why am I showing you this is because some people are going to say, Hyperliquid, Solana, both of these are performing well. What are you talking about a pullback? Because we're making money on these longs right now. But the issue is Bitcoin. And the issue with Bitcoin is the same pattern that we've seen over and over again, that it can't break above 113. And it's stuck right now currently. And right now for Bitcoin, we have seen on the lower time frames, we've seen an uptrend, okay? So it's uptrending here. It looks pretty good, but we're still not above 113. And that's what I want to see in order for me to get a little bit more bullish before I think it can go up to 116, 117. Now, we've also looked at the Bitcoin dominance, and currently here, Bitcoin dominance over the past couple of days is still down. And so again, I do want to see some strength in Bitcoin, and really a lot of the bull markets, they tend to continue on when you see strength in Bitcoin. Bitcoin needs to be a leader a lot of times, as you see the rotations go from Bitcoin to ETH to altcoins. And typically that's kind of the way we go through a rotation cycle when it comes to the top. And so currently, no, I don't think we're at the top, but are we at a potential pullback here for more downside? And we'll talk about that here in a minute. But Bitcoin dominance is still kind of weak. Again, I would like to see Bitcoin dominance, push back up again, to see some strength in Bitcoin, because in order for this market to continue on, It's not Solana and it's not HYPE that needs to lead. This is fantastic, by the way. And if anything, these work as great hedges to a sideways down Bitcoin. So that's why I'm a firm believer in not only holding Bitcoin, but to hold ETH in HYPE, in Solana, and to spread that out a little bit. Again, you could be a Bitcoin maxi, totally fine. For me, I make the most money when I'm not only in Bitcoin, but I'm also in these other altcoins, because when Bitcoin goes sideways, altcoins can go up. You can use that money from those gains to buy more Bitcoin, okay? So whether you're a maxi or not, I think that is a great way to make more money, or stack sats, however you want to say it, okay? So let's go ahead, and I want to go ahead and look at let's look at the stock market really quick. This is the higher time frame, but if I were to zoom out on the 1 hour chart intraday, it's just moving sideways, okay? Not that, and I want to talk to you about the stock market here in a minute, and just, really look at it and compare it to what I want to show you guys here with the data, okay? Because there seems to be, even though crypto Twitter says the bottom's in, there seems to be some fear from the big funds right now. And for me, a lot of times, I want to look and see what big money's doing, kind of like how you can watch smart wallets on chain. What are they buying? Well, if they're buying something specific, a lot of times you tend to want to maybe get a little exposed to that asset. But the thing about right now, what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of big things come ahead. Now, first off, let me go ahead and break a couple things down before we get into this big data, this chart that is really conflicting. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but right here on Tuesday, all right, some inflation data revision. We're looking at that, but the big thing is PPI on Wednesday. Okay, producer price index. It's midweek, and as said here, rising wholesale prices could suggest higher consumer cost ahead. Sticky inflation wouldn't be a good thing. And then we've got CPI, consumer price index, which is a big dog too, right? And so that's going to land on Thursday. So you've got PPI and CPI in the next few days. That's a big deal. Okay, FOMC next week. So we're going to have a big week. So that's why we're doing these live streams. They're going to be a little different times. Like today is a little later than maybe tomorrow. And then understand too that here in, I think Wednesday, I have a doctor's appointment. So we'll have a live stream a little later. And then Thursday, we'll end up having one again, maybe around to cover, again, PPI and CPI, all that. But this is the big impact, okay? So because of the CPI and PPI, what's going on with traders right now? Well, they're fearful. They're worried. They're worried about volatility. And because of that, there's something that's happening right now that I don't know if you've seen yet. In fact, you've seen this. I know you've had to see this. You've seen gold right now. What is gold doing? Well, gold is pumping. This is the weekly chart, right? This has been in a weekly sideways since April, all right? And now it's breaking out over the past couple of weeks, hitting new highs. So gold is at an all-time high. And what does gold act as? And I think that if I were to say, what does gold act as? Well, it acts as a hedge. That's what it does. So understanding that gold is acting as a hedge right now, that people are fearful. And so I'll go back to look at this, but what I want to show you is, let's look at this right here. Now, this is what I'm talking about, and I don't know if you've seen this, but this is a chart of traders turning to hedging, okay? So around $6 billion were put into hedging ETFs, the highest since April. Now, we know, though, that the bottom for the markets was in April. Okay, if we want to go back to look at both stocks here, the bottom was around the week of April 7th to the 14th. That was the bottom. And we also see for Bitcoin, let's go to the weekly chart. Let's scroll back down here. And the bottom for Bitcoin was around the same time. We hit around 73 to 75K. around early to mid-April. And so I know automatically what people say when they just read that is like, these people who are hedging right now are just fearful and they're selling the bottom, right? But you have to look into it deeper. And this is what I mean. Okay, what I mean by this is if we actually go back and look at this chart, and let me reread this again. This is the highest since April. Now, if you go and you look left, this is not exactly at peak levels of hedging right now. What this resembles to me, if you look at it, and let's look at it together, I think you're going to see this. What this resembles to me is more or less kind of like here in mid-February. Well, why is this important? Why is mid-February important? That's because mid-February was where we topped out at locally, okay? And what I'm saying is that what you saw is that you saw a gradual hedge. Now, of course, you saw the most hedging at the bottom. That's when we tend to see capitulation, fear, people cashing out because possibly prices could go lower, right? But this does not remind me. The 6 billion isn't like it's up at 10 billion like it was at the bottom. This is more or less somewhat like a beginning phase of hedging. So what I'm interested in seeing over the next couple of weeks is, will people continue to hedge and will that hedging increase? Because if you look at this, hedging actually increased as the market went down. Hedging started in mid-February. It increased in March, took a couple weeks off, then it really got heavy in April. Well, guys, let's check this out. Let's first go to the stock market. Okay, so this is the weekly chart. This is right here. This candle. Let me go ahead and I'll circle it. This right here is when the hedging started, actually. Well, what is that? Well, that was actually the local top. So these people hedging right now, I don't necessarily think that this doesn't remind me of April hedging. This reminds me of people starting to hedge because of CPI, PPI, FOMC, and uncertainty in the market. And we'll talk about how people hedge in a minute. It's important maybe for you to know. But what we saw is we saw hedging here, a couple weeks off, hedging here, and then a lot of hedging down here. Okay? So, bottom line, people are starting to hedge, and not over heavily, but it is increasing as this chart looks, okay? So we've got about 6 billion in hedging. And so basically it says this follows 5.7 billion from the week prior, okay? And that's well above the average seen in Q4 2024. Not that that matters, okay? And so if you look at Bitcoin though, Bitcoin, February, let's see here. This is the weekly chart. So again, we saw hedging in Bitcoin. The Bitcoin chart was here, here, here. Okay, so what I'm just trying to tell you is this, is that there are a lot of heavy hitters hedging right now. And what does that hedging look like? Well, basically, one, we already looked at. We looked at gold. What is gold doing right now? Gold is skyrocketing. What did it do last time? Remember when Bitcoin and the stock market dumped right here from February to April? Let's take a look at gold. That was around this level, okay? Around here. Oops, that's a text. Let's do this. That was around here, and look what happened. Right here. A pretty big run up. It went from around 2,800 and it spiked up to 3,500. And that was the high prior to the last week, okay? So we saw a run up in gold, okay? Well, look what's happening right now. We're kind of starting to have this run up in gold right here. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the market, the way gold price is reacting, the way hedging's reacting, is reminding me a little bit about how things went in February or March prior to the bottom. Because the argument I'm trying to say is that people are saying, and I'm just trying to give you perspective here. I'm not saying that we're going to dump a lot more, but what I am telling you is that this same thing happened back in February, March before we hit bottom in April. We know that we've already pulled back, okay? But you have to understand too, we've pulled back in Bitcoin. We haven't pulled back in stocks yet. So if I go to stocks, that's why I want to compare this. If I zoom out here, besides a month ago, back in, well, a month and a half, back in July 28th, that was the last time we had a weekly red candle in stocks. So stocks are at highs now. They're not like Bitcoin. You know, they haven't pulled back 10, 20% like Bitcoin has. And so we know that stocks are going to lead overall, this overall market. If stocks pull back, Bitcoin will pull back more, is all I'm saying. And so, you know, the stock market is a way bigger market than Bitcoin alone. And so I'm not trying to create fear here. I'm still a bull for Q4. I am just saying, understand that the current hedging is starting to look like what we saw in February, not what we saw in April. We don't have $12 billion in hedging. We have about half that right now. And so I think what you can see is you tend to see a couple weeks of hedging, then not so much, like you saw here, a couple weeks of hedging, a week or two off, and then a lot of hedging. Okay. And that's because too, markets don't move just straight up and down. I think what you see is you see hedging, the market pull back, go sideways, so people don't hedge as much. The market pull back more, people hedge more. So there is potential to see the same type of reaction in the market if true. Because again, when you see big money put a lot of money into hedging, that's something that you need to keep your eye on. All right. We're not talking about just pure retail. We're talking about, right, the big money, smart money, moving their money around. $6 billion is a lot. That's a lot more than what retail has. So they're putting their money in gold, as you can see in this chart right here, right? It's going up, right, and all over the place. But gold is going up right now. All right? Gold is going up. Cash-like funds. People are putting their money in cash-like funds right now, okay, that are more stable. I haven't looked yet, but of course, the crypto comparison would be like stable coins, okay? They're also long volatility funds, okay? What is a volatility fund? It's like options. Whenever there's volatility, right, you profit off that. So when there's high volatility, people are expecting, well, when there's high volatility, people make money when they put their money there. People are expecting high volatility. And I can see why. CPI, PPI this week, Wednesday, Thursday, FOMC next week. All right. So they're putting their money in gold. They're putting their money in cash. They're putting their money in long volatility indexes. Okay. Inverse ETFs. Profits if the market falls. That's like the same thing as shorting the market, right? Or you go short sell. You can take, you know, for instance, if you guys don't know that, you can buy one Bitcoin spot, okay? Then you can go in leverage on 1x leverage short, one Bitcoin. And what's going to happen is it's a hedge, because as Bitcoin goes up in spot price, yes, your value in your short sell goes down. But if the market crashes, right, your short goes up and it equals out that dump in your spot Bitcoin. So people will do that as well in crypto, right? They'll actually go and they'll, you know, sell short, or they'll short Bitcoin, or they'll short crypto, Ethereum, whatever. And many times it's not because they're bearish. They're just trying to hedge. They're just trying not to lose money just in case something happens. Now, sometimes people do go pretty crazy short because they're trying to make money in a trade because they think the market's really going to dump. It's not really a hedge. But in this case, what I'm talking about, these inverse ETFs, right? We're talking about, bottom line, people, you know, trying to get into assets that are going to protect them. So, but you just have to know that we got 6 straight weeks of inflows, and that's the longest streak since the sell-off in March and April. Okay, so so since late July here, inflow, the last 2 weeks inflow. Okay, so now you have to understand too that this is the second component. Not only are people buying these hedging ETFs and gold in long volatility funds. They're also getting out of risk on ETFs, or risk on ETFs are losing money right now. Well, I don't know, Bitcoin ETF last couple of days, it's down. Yeah, we saw some excuse me, in late August go in, but look, the last couple of days, outflows for Bitcoin ETF, right? So again, you have to know that like the leverage long ETFs, right? They lost 5.9 billion also. Okay, so I'll read it right here. Leverage long ETFs have posted 5.9 billion in net outflows over the past 2 weeks, the most since early 2024. What happened in early 2024? Okay, early 2024 is here. I'm here. Let me get rid of all these markings here. Early 2024, guys, is here. That's the stock market local top, okay? So you're not going to hear this anywhere else right now. You can go to wherever on YouTube. I'm going to be the one who tells you this, okay? Because I want you to know, and I'm not saying that we're going to nuke really hard. I'm just giving you the data so that you can now and go and make informed decisions about your investing and trading, okay? I think bottom line, until Bitcoin proves itself. What is Bitcoin proving himself? If you've watched this channel for more than a week, you understand that Bitcoin has to break above here. It can't keep going. It can't keep going sideways. Okay. So slowly but surely up, but in the end, it's just rejecting off this area. And if anything, okay, this is a high, a lower high, and then a lower high even after that. So, inability to break above 113 to me is just showing that Bitcoin is not really asserting itself as being dominant right now. Bitcoin dominance is down as well. But what I'm trying to tell you is I think that for the market to continue on, okay, Bitcoin has to show some strength here. All right. This market can't be led by Solana and HYPE. You can make money on Solana and HYPE, and maybe it's even a good hedge, as I said earlier. But those can't lead the market as we want to see the market continue. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. Okay. So, and it looks like too, unfortunately, you guys may be a little lagged right here. So, man, I don't even know if you guys are seeing exactly where I'm at. We've been about 22 minutes in. Just understand this, that the market is, Bitcoin right now, a lot of people are hedging. So there's some fear, okay? And they're moving their money out of risk on assets or ETFs, and they're hedging. That's what you need to know. The last time that happened was at the stock market local top, okay? People are expecting volatility. So I think practicality-wise, what does that mean for you and me? It means not to be over-leveraged right now, okay? It means to, in my personal opinion, probably now's not a time to go all in. Twitter's telling you to go all in. Can you dip your toes right now? Can you buy certain assets that are popping off? You certainly can. I'm definitely exposed to some on-chain assets, some smaller, lower caps. But I think what you need to know is, bottom line, you have to understand that we've seen this movie before. We know what the ending was, and stock market has not seen a pullback in quite some time, and we're really, we have to wait and see what happens. Can the market rally? Yes, the market can rally, but I'm telling you to be careful until you know for sure. So CPI and PPI this week, we're going to wait and we're going to watch those and see what those do, and then I'll get my reaction. We'll wait and see the next couple of weeks how these hedging ETFs continue to flow. We'll look at that as well. And then we'll look and see Bitcoin. See if Bitcoin can finally break above 113, guys. And if it can, then let's maybe risk on a little bit. But I just think bottom line, you have to be careful, and you're not going to really hear that anywhere else. And maybe that's why I don't have 10,000 people watching me right now. That's totally fine. But, I'd rather you be smart about your investing and trading than just to tell you what you want to hear. I would rather I'd rather you make money, whether the market pull back or push forward, because I don't want you to be out of funds if the market does pull back. At the same time, I don't want you to miss the pump. So that's why we need to watch these levels closely and take it day by day. Don't sit here and say the bottom's in, because we don't know that yet. I get so sick of hearing that. I've been here for a long time, though. All right, guys. Yep, so we were rejected 3 times. So some of you guys, you may be behind right now. I'm going to go ahead and look to see if there's any questions in the chat. But I did see some questions about what's your SOL prediction price this cycle. And I do think that Solana can hit new highs. We've seen an upward trend, right? So I'm just going to answer a couple questions here. This is a beautiful uptrend. Sorry, it's a little small for you guys. It's a beautiful uptrend right here. And it just continue to climb. And again, even if we do have a market pullback at all, again, we got to take it day by day. You got to understand that this is holding pretty strong. And so it's one of those assets that I want to buy a dip on. But do I think that Solana can hit a new high? I do. I think a lot of this driver right now are the digital asset treasuries. I mean, the only question about the DATs or digital asset treasuries that are pushing up prices, for say Ethereum and Solana, is that apparently a lot of these asset treasuries are buying locked Solana instead of off the market. And hey, man, that's not going to really get you anywhere, right? Buying locked Solana. You want to buy it from the market. So I want to see that. I want to see maybe some more buying from the market from these digital asset treasuries. But yes, I do believe we'll see over 300 again for Solana. And I do believe it's one of the strongest altcoins out there. So as far as that goes too, I think somebody asked me about Polygon again. Polygon, I talked about it last time. It's been a downward chart. I don't want to look at it. I wouldn't buy Polygon. That doesn't look strong right now. So just be aware of that. I'm seeing if there's any other questions. Yeah, I think a lot of you guys are agreeing with this. But so what we want to do, and so it's going to be a little bit of a short video today, about 30 minutes. I'm going to keep it to this, but we're going to keep having these live streams. And I want to have them around 12 noon Eastern time zone, which to some of you guys, you're in Europe, you're in Asia. So that's that's really late for Asia, but then a lot of you guys are, maybe it's 5, 6, 7 p.m. for you. Some of you are in America, so it's around mid-morning, afternoon, or, North America, Central, whatever. So I want to continue to have these streams around this time. Yeah. I mean, again, here, somebody, if you guys want to look at Polygon, I mean, bottom line, it's just down. Now on the weekly, it is a slight uptrend here, but again, until this breaks 32 cents, I don't want to buy it. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you, break 32 cents, 0.32, and then I'll be more interested. I need to see strength in it. Okay, so if you're looking for Polygon, I just wanted to go ahead and answer that but other than that, look at Solana, look at HYPE. Those are strong. We want to see Bitcoin break above 113. And I'm going to continue to have these live streams because we got CPI, PPI. And so those will happen in the morning time in US time. So by the time I stream, we'll have plenty of the concept of what's going on, right? We'll be able to see the reaction of, okay, what is the market doing? What did stocks do? I don't like to stream really quick, really fast. A lot of people like to stream like at 8 or 9 a.m. Eastern time zone in the morning when the stock market opens, 9:30. I don't like to do that. 2 reasons. I actually trade, guys. Unlike a lot of streamers who don't trade, the best time to trade the markets is around open time. I can't give up that trading time to make videos. I would rather trade and then wait a couple hours, see what's going on, and then make a video. I feel like it's way more helpful when you guys get these videos at this time as opposed to the morning. Now, the morning time, you can hear like the news, I can be one of the people who give you the news first, but the news first is not going to really do anything. News is, it's late anyway, right? I mean, the market's already priced it in. So I'd rather talk about news later on in the day and wait and trade the charts, allow you guys to trade, see what the market does for a few hours, and then us jump on a live stream around noon Eastern time. That'll give us plenty of time. And then that way we can kind of look at it and just kind of go from there. Because a lot of times, most of the action's in the morning. Hopefully that makes sense. Oh, my video freezed. Okay. Well, I made it a long ways before that happened, guys. But I'm going to go ahead and do this. With that said, you guys, let's keep watching these hedging ETFs. I'll keep you guys up to date with that, over the course of the next couple of weeks or so. And then we'll look at CPI and PPI. We'll continue to watch Bitcoin to see if it can break 113. And we'll take it day by day, okay? But you heard it here first, all right? So, guys, I will see you online. I'll see you on the next one. Hope you have a great rest of the day. Trade safe, and I'll see you on the next one.